now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Hello, darlings, and welcome to a new episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night. First, I have a special announcement to make for those of you that follow us on social media. We are, in fact, not dead. We are still here. We decided to take a break from everything after Titans wrapped and after the new year to just sort of like refresh ourselves and reflect on things. And I think it's important to take a break from social media, especially when you work in these cyclical reality show.
The rhythms that we work in, and that's what we do like season after season. And you know what? It's brutal. It's fun. It's exciting. There's tons of energy as we go along. And baby, we can burn it for a really long time, but we need a break too every now and then.
Well, you know, think about it. We went into production on season 4. We filmed it. We were in post. We were airing. We immediately went on tour. We immediately started pre-production on Titans. We started filming Titans.
We started editing Titans. We went
started
right into
airing
Halloween.
Titans, Halloween, and here we are. So yeah, I don't, we did not.
It's sick. It is a sickness.
It is. We did not take a break during that time at all, which is why I constantly referenced Hoso on Titans, because Hoso did very similar. I mean, the job wasn't as hard on Hoso.
Not
but,
quite as demanding, right. So for the past couple of weeks, we've been in our cocoons, gathering our strengths to strike again in the new year.
But we are back and active and working,
Yes.
and we have a couple of exciting projects. We have a new TV show that we're developing with another production company that will be probably announcing, what do you think, maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, hopefully maybe by the time this episode airs.
Yes, and then we have another special that we're working on that we can't talk too much about yet, but we will soon. So needless to say, we are back to work and busy creating fun content that you all are going to love.
And talking about these shows and like these projects brings us to just kind of like reality TV in general, because we're obsessed. I mean, this is a love that we've had for years and years and years.
Yeah, and these projects have forced us to kind of look at a bunch of different reality TV shows recently. I think we talked about The Real Housewives of New York on the last podcast, and we've just been like digging through and watching as much as we can, looking at Titans even, and looking at Dragula, and just looking at the format of our show in terms of it being a reality show, and sort of just thinking about like what works and what doesn't work, right?
From a critical perspective.
Yeah, particularly with the cast, right? Because not everyone is made for reality TV. And just because someone's a great drag artist does not mean that they are good reality TV, right? Or that they will be good reality TV. And I was thinking about who I think the reality stars are from Dragula.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, from like all seasons. Like who, because, I'm digging through all this stuff and working on these other projects. And I'm like, who are the stars of the show in terms of reality TV? Who are those people that sort of, they are flawed and they show you who they are and they risk it all. And sometimes you hate them and sometimes you love them and sometimes you love to hate them, right?
Oh, absolutely. These are the competitors that are bringing the reality part of the reality competition. The characters, the personalities. Who's the star of the boudoir?
Yeah, and I want to talk about my top 5.
Okay.
Everyone always asks us, what's your top favorite this? What's your top favorite that? I'm going to say my top 5 reality stars from Dragula.
Okay, give me a moment to gather myself, because we may have some like overlap, but we might not think exactly the same ways.
I'm going to start with season 1. My first is Melissa Be Fierce. Melissa Be Fierce, because Melissa, I feel like, comes into the room and she acts the same way she would when the cameras are rolling as she does when they're not rolling.
Right. It's the authenticity. And you can feel that immediately. And it doesn't matter how many years go by, because she's serving the same thing.
Yeah. And she understands that we're all working on a show together and that we're all on the same team. And I appreciate that, because not everybody sees it that way. They see, well, there's people behind the camera, I'm in front of the camera, and I don't know, and they're trying to do this and that. Honey, we're trying to make you look good and to make you interesting so that we have a good show that people will watch, darling.
It's called entertainment.
No, but, I feel like Melissa brings the reality. And even times when, I think back to season 1, one of the magic moments when you first see Melissa is when she's painting that cat face and she's twirling the brush and she's looking out of the corner of her eye. And I know Melissa. I'm like, Melissa.
It's so good.
Everyone's like, ooh, she's deadly. And I know Melissa. I know she was looking around. She's like, what did I sign up for? You know? But she just has that energy. I don't know what it is. It's that it factor for reality TV.
Yeah.
That's my number one.
Okay.
My number two is Loris.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I could see it. I could definitely see it.
Okay.
But like for a totally different reason, right? Definitely not the same reason as Melissa.
No, because Loris is not on purpose at all. In fact, when Loris tries to be on purpose, that makes it even better, in my opinion.
It's her authentic self that we're looking for.
It is. And the thing about Loris is, and people would say, why would you pick Loris? Okay, here's why. Put a bunch of Dragula competitors in a room, any of them, pick whoever you want. And then let Loris walk in. Mm-hmm. And you tell me that some shit isn't going to happen and some emotions are going to be felt. Because they are. Even when we'll do live clubs, in the back will be, people from different seasons come and hang out and Loris is there and you see it immediately. There's just something about her energy, to me, that triggers a great reality TV response.
Oh, something's going to go down. Someone's going to be upset. Someone's going to be on her side. She's going to feel uncomfortable. She's going to make someone else feel uncomfortable. Like, it's going to be good. I don't know if we're going to have the same kind of list because someone that comes to mind for me, and I'll start in reverse, I think a lot of these stars for me will come from season 4. And I think someone that's definitely worth mentioning is Sigourney, because Sigourney was so pivotal, I felt like, in so many social situations. Like, she would give you the or she'd give you the like, but she was definitely going to give you something. Mm-hmm. And I feel like her history as an AFAB performer, being in these drag rooms and maybe not being taken at face value or being compared to people unfairly just based on her gender, they would come for her thinking like, oh, maybe this is like a weak spot, or maybe I'm going to get my little spice in there. And Sigourney was not having it. Mm-hmm. And you either loved her or you wanted to clash against her. And I think she's like a great reality star.
I can agree with that. I can see that. My number 3 is James Majesty.
A good choice. Mean, wow.
Yes. I was so happy when James joined the cast for season 2 because I felt like it was a different energy. It brought a different energy to Dragula, and James was reality TV gold. And there was something sort of like offensive about him, but also very likable and
lovable. Yeah,
lovable, but also like you could tell that he was kind of self-deprecating too. It was a really interesting character, but certainly got a response out of everyone.
Very multifaceted. A little self-deprecating, flawed, and I think admittedly flawed, but also, and maybe for the first time on our show, like viperous.
Yes.
Like manipulative in a great reality TV kind of way.
That's the game.
We're not talking about like these are their character traits, or these are who they are as people on TV.
Right.
Yeah.
People that just put on a show naturally. And we all know people, probably everyone knows someone like this in their life where maybe they're a bit of a disaster, or they're really outspoken, or they just don't have a filter. And those people make great reality TV.
Like absolute stars. I don't know if our lists aren't going to like align, because I don't know how you're going to feel about this one, but one of my favorites is Mary Cherry.
Mary Cherry is on my list.
Okay, good.
Mary Cherry is on my list.
She should be.
Yes.
Yes. I was hoping that everyone would see what we saw when we've seen Mary. I still love Mary regardless of what happened on the show.
Yeah.
I still think Mary is a star.
Me
I would
too.
love to see Mary on TV again. Mary is just truly themselves and just brings it to the ball every time.
Yes.
Whether their view was skewed or not, or they could even see themselves in the scene or not. And sometimes when she couldn't, it got really good. Mm-hmm. Like, they had a lot to say. It was like super like amazing. The energy was just through the roof.
I even think when she would try to sort of like self-produce something, it's still like her authenticity shines through and blasts through so much. Like, she just can't be on purpose. She is 100% herself. And I feel like you see that. I feel like she got sort of a weird rap with the way things went down with Sigourney, and then doubled and tripled down on it where I'm just let it go. You know what I mean? But all that stuff aside, I'm just talking as a reality TV player. I think Mary was great. I would love Mary to come back on the show one time.
I still love Mary to this day.
Yeah. And then my number 1, this is my number 1 reality TV personality.
On Dragula. All seasons.
Dragula.
I think we're going to...
Is Zavaleta.
Oh, absolutely.
It is Zava.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The queen of the boudoir.
Yes.
The queen of the cauldron. Mm-hmm. Hola, bendejas, not you, bitch. And it was fun shade. And it was like at every turn, I totally agree.
Yes. And it's just the quick wit. It's the energy. It's the like, I'm going to open up and and she did not control it at all. It was like, you're going to hate me or you're going to love me. I really don't give a fuck. And you felt that energy from the first moment she walked in the boudoir. This is someone who has never been on camera before. This had no training in terms of like how to act towards a camera, where to look, any of that stuff, and just took to it so naturally.
Yeah.
And lived so authentically.
And you could see that through the emotions too. And you can see it in the first episode. It's not cultivated or curated or forced at all. There was an emotional breakdown at the end of that episode that was absolutely real. You could feel it. So with the fire, she gave us water. There was grounding earth moments. Like she's like our all-around queen.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, I think, and you just have to know that, look, if you're on TV, especially if you're on reality TV, 50% of the people are going to like you, 50% of the people are going to hate you, and 30% of that 50% are the ones that are going to talk the most.
And almost sometimes 100% of them love you and hate you. It just depends what's happening moment to moment or like episode to episode.
So I do have a couple of honorable mentions, right? So those are my top 5. Everyone said, what's your top? Okay, that's my top.
I peppered mine in there. You have to act like you care about my opinion too.
I did. I thought.
Okay. Let's go on to the honorable mentions because I think that there are definitely some good ones out there.
Do you have, you said a couple, but do you have like different people?
Look, I recognize the power of the people that you chose because like Loris, Melissa, Majesty, like I can't contest those, but I do put like Sigourney like kind of way up there. We agreed on Mary, absolutely agree on Zaba, but I do think there are some other really strong characters that just make great golden TV.
Okay, so here's my honorable mentions and tell me if they're the same for you or if you have different ones.
Sure.
Priscilla.
Amazing.
Priscilla was great reality TV.
And what an interesting journey just to watch from their season to resurrection and like so raw and fun and like just free.
Yeah, just like continue to change and evolve as an artist and a person as we watched her on our screens. Really interesting. I still love when she would try to attack Dahlia. And the backfire. It was amazing. But
you better stretch before you reach, darling.
And also on my honorable mentions, Dahlia Black.
Well deserved.
Absolutely. At the time. Now, I don't know, now I feel like she's sort of evolved. Maybe it's great for your life, but it's not great for reality TV, right?
Yeah.
But I think back then she was sharp,
fabulous.
And she said recently, she said to me, she was like, "Oh, like being a bitch isn't in style or isn't a personality or something." And I get what she's saying, but I didn't take her that way. When she was on the show, she was fun. She's on a reality TV show,
Well, she's cunty and her tongue is like cutting, and that makes for a great character.
Yeah, and Coco obviously is on the honorable mentions because even from Titans alone, the moments that Coco had with the straw and writing the names, it's just like hysterical because it's not always about fighting people, right? I think people get that confused. Like, we don't want people to fight each other all the time. We just want them to be fun and interesting and be kooky and be themselves. And sometimes you fight, sometimes you don't, or sometimes you cry. But some people don't get the memo.
They're
like, I'm going to go
in
and punch someone in the face. I'm like, no, that is not.
It doesn't have to be like nuclear, like meltdown moments where you try to just destroy or shred somebody. Like, fighting can be fun and shady and almost cute. Like, it can be fun. I think Zava gets that.
I do too. And my last honorable mention, well, second to last, is Kendra. Kendra is fucking hysterical.
We love her.
I love Kendra.
I think we know it, and I think it's obvious why she's so lovable. Her character, she's like, oh my God.
She is
even in the littlest
hysterical.
passing moments, she's great on TV.
Yeah, and I still want to give Kendra her own show where she learns special effects makeup. Because do you remember Resurrection when she was doing the wax and she was like, ow.
Oh my. I want to throw an honorable mention too, and it's Abora, because I think sometimes Abora gives us amazing moments, like from "You're not a monster" to like, "All right, spooky bitches." Like when she's on, she's on, but when she's off, we can go deep into the weirdest pit of hell, and you're like, "This is not maybe what I'm signing up for when I want to watch TV," So it's kind of both.
In a weird way, my last one in a weird way is unexpected. It's Dali. And the reason I picked Dali is because I felt like Dali was the base that was needed to keep season 4 fun and to keep everyone from going completely insane.
As we saw with their role as the narrator on the Under the Sea,
Right.
the Wicked Love episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Is Dolly's like, I'm here to play. I'm not going to attack anybody, but I'm part of the fun. I'm here. I'm not separate. You know, some people are like, I'm not going to argue with people. I'm going to stand over here, roll my eyes, and be upset that we're here. I'm like, have you watched the show before you came here? You know, like, you know what the show is, you know?
Yeah.
But Dali, I felt like was still part of the fun, but was a neutral base. And I think is the kind of thing we were missing from Titans. When I think about it, because, you know, we've been thinking about all
it was
this
a room full of
recently.
supervillains. Like, it was everyone was just a villain, and like from episode to episode, I'm like, I actually do I kind of hate everybody. Like, I don't know. I think the audience kind of hates everybody. I think the audience kind of hates me. Like, I don't know. It was weird.
What I mean is that Dali was a base that sort of would bring a neutrality that I feel like we missed from Titans.
Yeah.
You know, people's emotional range would be so crazy, and it'd be like super emo, and everyone would be down, and there was nobody to be like, hey, here's the middle ground. Here's the lifeboat, you know?
Just to add spice to the mix, too, Dali's drag was so interesting and strange. And, like, as a performer, they were a deadly threat, but had, like, this mellow kind of, like you're saying, like, base to all the acids in the room.
Yeah. I don't want any of our listeners or anyone that's been on the show to hear this and say, well, oh, my God, they didn't pick me or whatever. You know, I think different competitors are good at different things. You know, it's weird. Even like our winners, who are obviously incredible artists, like they tend to not be the most interesting reality TV
None of
people.
them made the real list. I mean, Dolly got an honorable mention, but they're maybe more like the competition in the reality competition. You know, like where they're more of like the drag artists and just maybe just the artists in general, and that's where they shined on the show, because there's a lot of different ways to shine on the show.
Yeah.
So we're just mentioning the ones that bring sort of like the spicy interest in the characters behind the drag, but not necessarily the drag artist. Because, yeah, I mean, Vander, amazing drag artist. Like, Victoria, amazing drag artist. Landon, but it's like, are they necessarily like great reality stars?
Right.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean, I always thought Landon had like a brightness to him and this engaging smile and this warmth that you need on shit. Everybody can't be crazy, you know? Like, you need those different kind of characters. And so I think that Landon brought the energy. I mean, Bitch had an interesting run as far as sort of being the underdog and overcoming that stuff and never turning negative, which is something I always admire.
That is like a superpower.
But still neutral, right? Not like a feisty, unaware type of person, you know? We kind of went off about that, but those are our top.
Yeah, but we're in that lane. We're in like the reality television lane, and we're kind of looking back at our own projects and thinking like, who are the stars in a different way? Not in the drag way, but in like the reality star kind of way.
Well, I'm thinking about what's coming next, right? And what sort of personalities we're going to see and that the audience is going to see for the new wave of Dragula.
Knows? Both very exciting and scary.
It is scary, but I love it. All right, so anyways, let's take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back after these lovely ads.
Are you just dying to experience the terror of Dragula live on stage? Then get your tickets for the Boulet Brothers Dragula Titans Tour, coming to destroy a city near you. Available now at dragulalive.com. Do it now or die. Welcome back, darlings, and it's time we bring in our co-hostess, Ms. Ian DeVogler. Ian, welcome to the show.
Hi, I think that I'm gonna be Miss Congeniality, but really everyone's gonna hate me. Ooh, I can't wait.
Hola, bendejas.
Not you, bitch. Oh my God. When I was not in the room, just listening in on the conversation, I was also thinking about the stars of the Boulet Brothers Dragula and, you know, the reality TV stars, and Zava was my number one pick too. I mean, I love Zava. I love Zava off camera as well. Like, they're just such a sweetheart, but truly the queen of the boudoir entrance and just the one-liners. And she is just so funny. Even it's like the off the cuff moments. Like, I always remember when she's like, okay, well, now to go do my makeup.
I don't know. I don't even know what the
so
words
funny.
were, but there's a cute little moment. And I think, again, it's the Wicked Love episode. What the hell was that episode called?
Ghost Ship Glamour.
The Ghost Ship Glamour. And she's trying to kind of talk Hoso off the ledge. Like, you love her, but you don't need to worry about you. I love you. I want to see you go far, do well. And don't tell anybody that I said that because I don't want them to know that I care about you. And I was like, this is so cute. I love you.
Yeah, no, Zava is like a total sweetheart, and I just love her. She's great. Well, what's new, ladies? What's going on?
Well, what you tell us, you are the news queen.
You're here for the news, diva.
Short circuiting. Oh my God, I'm totally unprepared. Like some people who come onto the Boulet Brothers Dragula.
Are we gonna do our top 5 most unprepared?
Next episode.
Because there is a list.
Oh my God, the top 5 flops.
People would be shocked.
Mama
to know
Diva.
The suitcase that some people have showed. The one suitcase that people
y'all
have
are
showed.
coming in here trying to
I know.
scalp people.
Girl.
No, I'm not trying to scalp anybody. It's just, I was shocked. It was shocking.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I mean, there were some email chains and some phone calls that made me feel very, very nervous prior to filming with someone. And I just, I can't even say the line. Never mind. Anyway, moving on.
No.
Well, dearest listeners, killer dolls, rogue AI, and wax figure assistants alike, rejoice. We are back with a brand new haptic feedback silicone skin and the most terrifying news this side of a corrupt firmware update to reboot your feeble human brains. Starting things off directly in the Valley of the DAWLS, newly minted gay icon Megan, that's M3GAN, duh, has just been revealed to be getting the sequel treatment, with Blumhouse announcing that Megan 2.0 will be terrorizing screens in 2025, with writer Akilah Cooper, producer James Wan, and the cast of the original all slated to return.
What about the neighbor?
Bitch, the neighbor is the runaway star. I mean, it was like
Celia.
It was like level. Well, first of all, Megan is our creature feature review on this episode. We'll get to all of this juicy stuff, but Celia was kind of. I'm like, this is almost the American version of Hyacinth Bouquet level camp.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of here for it.
It was great.
Oh my God, I cannot wait. I mean, we'll have to talk about Celia like kind of in depth because her, spoiler alert, her death scene is a point of contention in my household. So,
oh really?
Yeah, about like how she actually dies, but in T-way.
Okay, we'll get there.
Speaking of child's play, Don Mancini's OG killer doll Chucky will be returning to the small screen soon, with Chucky Season 3 recently announced. Not to be outdone by her new killer besties returning friend group, Chucky Season 3 will reportedly feature even more legacy characters from the original franchise back to slay or be slain by Chucky and friends.
I have the coolest promotional item from the original Chucky series, not the movie, the when they made TV show.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know where. For the longest time, I did not know where it was. And then I was like, what is, and I went and I turned the box around. You see, it is a gigantic Chucky doll. It was like the best promotional item
life size.
ever.
Incredible. Like the box is so
After
huge.
the season was done.
Okay, but you know what's so funny about that is I remember when it got shipped to the office, and it was right after you were like, I would just pick Chucky up and throw him in the trash. Like, what the fuck? And then literally, like, the next day we got it. I was like, oh, Don Mancini heard that.
Don Mancini like put the stamp on it, and he was like, prove it, prove it.
We need to have Don Mancini on the podcast.
We need to talk about it.
We do not hate Chucky.
No, not at all.
They asked me on that, what was it? Behind the Horror, whatever.
Behind the Monsters or
documentary.
something, yeah.
Yeah, Behind the Monsters. Is Chucky scary? Now, they asked everything, but they didn't
Sure.
put the rest of it in. They didn't put it as Michael Myers, and I said something funny about all of them. But of course, and it was so terrible where they placed it. Remember? It was
It's like
Don
over the end
Mancini.
credits.
No, it's Don Mancini, like, it really means a lot. And I went to the high school in this, and then cut to me saying, Chucky's not even scary. Why don't you just pick it up and rip it in half?
Mama, blame it on the edit. You the one who said it.
Oh shit.
Oh my God, I know. It was funny, but
Yeah,
it was.
I don't want him
funny.
to think that we hate Chucky because we don't. We love Chucky, so we need to have him on the podcast. And you know how I did not get, because I saw Barbara Crampton or someone share that she got Bride of Chucky the next year as a promotional thing, and I did not get that.
You screwed that up for us.
Oh my
I did.
God, we need
You
a little
burnt
Tiffany
that bridge.
I
We
know.
do.
Damn.
You know,
Well,
I've
it's
said
okay.
it before. Drac is scared of nothing. I'm scared of everything. And even Chucky, when I first saw Chucky, had me like, oh my God.
Oh,
Like, what's going to happen?
girl, when I was a kid, I saw Chucky. I think it was Child's Play 2. maybe, whatever. I saw one of the Chucky movies in like a hotel, and I just turned the like TV on, and it's the scene where someone is getting their hand destroyed in a garbage disposal, and I was like, this is a fear unlocked for the rest of my life, and now to this day I can't do it. Chucky, you terrify the shit out of me.
How much cotton do you think it would take to have the strength to force your hand to do anything?
Well, okay.
It would need to be like a
But
dump truck.
he's fueled by the power of voodoo magic.
Yeah, I know,
Duh.
but still, it's
Voodoo
still
magic.
No, there's that one.
stuffing. It's batting. It's just batting from downtown Fabric District.
Well, downtown batting or not, I saw this GIF recently that's like, whatever the character is like holding Chucky back, and they're like, it's like Chucky is like having a level 10 like rabid dog freak out like in her hands. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is so camp. Like, love me some Chucky.
It's awesome. We'll have Don Mancini on. Hopefully he'll come. Right? He's like, fuck you. I'm not coming on your podcast.
Well, catching our breath in the land of television, HBO's latest series, an adaptation of the critically acclaimed zombie horror action game The Last of Us, premiered earlier this month, with HBO announcing that the premiere was the third largest in HBO history, behind Game of Thrones and the spin-off House of the Dragon, with 4.7 million viewers tuning in to see what all the fungal fuss is about. If you haven't seen it, I personally cannot recommend checking it out enough, but for those who are holding their breath against the zombie fungus spores, keep an eye out for more horror and video game adaptations in the future. Outbreaks like this typically signal more death and destruction to come.
So we watched it, and I wasn't a
Okay.
fan of the game not because I didn't like it, because I never played it. But I did hear a lot of the hype about it, so I'm like, I want to see this, and I love a good monster movie, and throw me a curveball and a classic trope, so I'm like, fungal zombies, like, what is it about? I want to see. And it was good. And I even got Drac to watch it against Drac's will. But like halfway through, Drac was like, okay, I like it. It's good. I'm
No,
like,
I
it
like
is
it.
good.
And I like the I have to say, one of the grossest and for some reason most terrifying portrayal of a zombie was the one that was like grown onto the wall.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is about that, but that makes me want to throw up. And I don't get grossed out by real, like by gore and
Like the
and-
undead.
But that, for some reason, is disgusting.
That's because you really don't like to eat anything like cauliflower, broccoli, or anything green or alive. Anyway, go ahead.
Blood, darling. Red hot blood
blood.
only.
Oh, I'm so excited for you guys to continue to watch it. I mean, I am a super fan of the game, and I'm super excited for the rest of the series. I think they're being very, very faithful, which I live for and die for. But the zombies that you see in the first episode are like very early stage infected, and then you see that one that's kind of plastered to the wall, and that one is like very late stage. But they've already teased what they're called clickers, and they are horrifying in the game. And the way that they are designed in the show, I'm like, oh my God, they look amazing. I can't wait.
So listen, don't let it out. I want to be surprised, because I was surprised and scared / a little bit terrified, like because of the way that they move. And like that'll get me every time.
Yeah.
Especially when there was the out of focus kind of elderly woman in the
Oh,
background and she
yeah.
started moving in that kind of strange way right there behind one of the main characters. I'm like, this is really effective. And then when they move so fast and crazy, I'm like, oh, okay, because that is
Yeah,
scary.
I won't spoil anything in terms of their design, but they definitely follow more in like the 28 Days Later school of zombies. Very Black Summer. They're super fast, and they think, and they don't feel pain. So they're just very, very deadly. And
So they're like all of us during production.
Oh, yeah,
very
basically.
fast. We can think, and we definitely don't feel pain.
And finally, bringing a little terror to the real world, Universal Studios' Parks and Resorts division has recently announced that Halloween Horror Nights would be setting their sunken eyes on the Las Vegas Strip for a permanent residency featuring a variety of immersive horror-centric experiences and eateries for horror fans to be terrified year-round. While an official timeline has not been announced, this does mark the first time that Universal has created a permanent horror experience. If Universal can bring the same level of creativity that they brought to The Weeknd's maze in 2022, Mama, I might be moving in with Jade Jolie soon.
Okay, and Jade is the one who put me onto that.
I
I
saw
was on
that.
social media the other day, so I got the news straight from Jade Jolie that there was going to be a permanent horror installation on the Strip, which is kind of exciting and maybe one of the only reasons I would ever want to go back to Las Vegas.
I
Oh my
would go back
God,
to Vegas to
same.
hang out with Jade.
I'm sorry.
True.
At Jade Jolie, are the four of us gonna go to this Halloween Horror Nights experience together? I think we might have
we're
to.
gonna go to that what is that weird flower brunch? It's like cat and everyone's like right with the nets
Is it
of
like
money.
Piranha or
What is
something?
it called?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, we're gonna go do that.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Wow, Boulet brunch for the horror weekend
The
in Vegas.
Boulet Blood Brunch.
I want to go to that that
when-
country western bar again. Remember?
Oh yes. Wait. Oh my.
That's
wow,
where
a
I'm
blast
going.
from the past.
Is that Riches? No, I can't
no,
remember.
not Riches.
Rich in San Diego.
Oh God, I remember
is
there were
that?
literal like
It's like the wagon wheel or something.
yeah, the wagon wheel Watusi
Oh, like this is the wildest place I've ever performed.
with the like saloon barrels.
No, this is the first time I have ever performed some kind of gothic extravaganza
Oh, yeah.
in a horse pen
Yes!
with barrels.
A
That was
fucking
good.
corral.
Oh
I
my
didn't care.
God.
I was
Swirling and
swirling
twirling.
and twirling.
She was in Vegas swirling
I
and
was
twirling.
swirling and twirling and getting those tips.
She was swirling and twirling in the saloon. I don't need to hear anything else.
All I know is we were swirling and twirling with those tequila drinks backstage with Melissa.
Oh, mama, trust and believe. And that was also the time where I had my pussy out.
Things happened
Wild.
in Vegas, maybe best forgotten, because that was the night when we got to Vegas, and I was like,
No.
okay, yeah,
no.
we have a little,
No.
we have a little moment to lay down, and I was like, okay, I closed my eyes like, eek, and they were closed for about 3 seconds, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot the crystal ball in LA. Which is pivotal to the performance. So fast forward to me and Ian somewhere like ransacking Home Depot. to try
Walmart,
to-
Home Depot,
yeah.
like-
And we did it. The show went on and I just had like a little bit of a makeshift. Didn't quite look as good as the original like crystal ball for our Call Me show.
Oh, my God.
Well, thank you for all of those updates, Ms. Ian. And you kind of gave us a little bit of a precursor to this episode's creature feature movie review, which, as exposed earlier, is going to be Megan, the story of Gemma, a brilliant toy company roboticist who uses artificial intelligence to develop Megan, a lifelike doll programmed to emotionally bond with her newly orphaned niece.
And all the gays.
And all the gays, mama. I mean, my God. My favorite thing when Megan started coming out, where someone put it out online, they were like, oh my God. The gay community is rallying around Megan more than they did for that Bros movie. And I'm like,
Totally.
duh. We don't care about Bros. We all care about Megan.
Mama, I mean, we're going to have to just get the fuck into it because Megan just serves endlessly. Like, I've started to say this about, like, why certain characters resonate and certain don't, like, at home. And we'll be watching a show, and I'm like, case in point, this character does not slay, does not serve. Even if they're doing servy kind of things, like they're killing
Yeah.
people, I'm like, doesn't serve. Megan will literally just look at someone. I'm like, serving, honey.
Oh my God. Okay, so let me get back to my synopsis here. Gemma decides to give the girl a Megan prototype, a decision that leads to unimaginable consequences. So my first question is kind of already half answered. What did you think about Megan as being the newest doll killer introduced to the horror world?
Well, remind us of all of them because there's like a million.
Yeah, so we have, of course, Chucky, as mentioned earlier, Bride of Chucky, Annabelle, Blade, all of the whole like cast of characters from Puppet Master, the trilogy of terror dolls. I mean, there's a lot of dolls historically that
There's
go through the
so
horror
many.
world. So we have a new one, and I wasn't sure if we needed one, but I'm so glad that we have her now.
Well, you know, we haven't had a new one in a while, you know, and Annabelle didn't really do anything. It wasn't like it got up and did anything. It just hid in the cabinet, right?
I mean...
How dare you attack me,
no.
Annabelle? Go back to the cabin that
with
you
your Herman
came from.
Munster shoes. Oh my God, speaking of, someone on Twitter tagged me in a thing with, oh God, Alex, I guess, has like a new spinoff. Anyway, like besides the point.
Ultimate Real Girls Trip.
I can't wait.
Season 4.
What, like, sort of a sidebar just on Annabelle, like, what I love about Annabelle is that she don't do shit. Like, she literally
How
doesn't
about
do...
She Raggedy Ann?
Literally, like, oh, I love like the yassified Annabelle, like, but she just like doesn't do anything and yet serves and slays. Like, personally though,
Like a few Dragula competitors, I know.
Oh.
Total joking. No one's in mind. Not really, maybe.
Not anyway.
Am I joking? I don't
So
know.
okay, of all the dolls that you mentioned, and I know there's others, what about that Norwegian horror movie
oh my
from
God.
1954 with the doll? I'm not
Get
talking
ready
about
for
her.
it.
Yeah.
About just these basic ones that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Who would win in a battle? And the battle could be, it's like a warehouse, like in a video game with different levels and barrels and old, rusted things, and it's dark and wet. Okay, you put them all in there. Who wins? Who comes out alive?
M3GAN.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say, and I feel like, God, the mentions are gonna be crazy. Like, I'm gonna have to go with Megan. Like, I think that Megan proved that not only is she like deadly and serves, but she's also physically deadly. Girl, she was beaten ass.
She's
in that
really
movie.
adaptable too. That's the thing. Like you see the little like her little
Constantly learning.
Yeah, and her program is like, giving signals as like her enemy's behavior, context clues, like behavioral clues. Like she's like adapting as we go.
Chucky's pretty mischievous, right? And
Chucky, I think, would have like a maybe like a close second. Like I think that Chucky is scrappy.
I could see Chucky tricking her, but then again, you've seen things take Chucky out before that weren't super extreme, like he can't take that much.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a thing with Megan that this is sort of going to the end. Like Megan, I think, spoiler alert, sort of has, as we'll see in Megan 2.0, kind of the ability to not die. It's like,
Yeah.
she, I mean, which I'm sure we'll talk about it, but like personally, that was the moment, like when Megan, Akilah Cooper, James Wan, you stuck the landing, and I literally got out of my seat and cheered. I was like, oh my God, the sequel is coming.
Well, what was cool is because she is leaning way into the AI. She's way into the technology. So her consciousness, if she has one, can be just preserved in any other mechanical device and just create a new body. And there she is, like with all the drive that she had. And who knows what the new body might be.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mama. New body, who dis?
So, okay.
You didn't say who you thought would win in the Battle of the Dolls. The Dolls.
I can't decide because I think it would either be Megan or Chucky because of the reasons I said. Like I could see Chucky coming up with some stuff to trick Megan, but then I think Megan physically would definitely outlast Chucky. And ultimately, like Ian said, Megan can't really die. She could download herself onto your old iPhone 5 and live somehow. So.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Megan 2.0 is on like an old school Nokia brick, and then she's truly invincible.
I think Teddy Ruxpin would win. And if you don't know what that is, just
God.
Google it.
Okay, so how did we feel when the movie ended? Because I think that there was a ton of anticipation about Megan. I think it was marketed within an inch of its little like plastic AI life. So we all had tons of expectation going in. So how did you feel at the end? Did it meet those expectations? What had changed? What were your thoughts?
I mean, I sort of already gave my immediate reaction just to the ending itself, but I feel like Megan is not a perfect movie, but this is the Ian loves something and will give endless passes, like seal of approval. Like every time something happened where I was like, oh, maybe I don't love the way this is happening, I always wrote it off because Megan is just fun. It is so fun. I loved it. I think the marketing is perfect. And I also feel like finally we have movies that are being marketed again. Like you could not get on the internet without seeing Megan marketing. And I'm like, what happened? Like there's so many movies that come out now where it's like, oh, didn't that movie come out? Maybe not. But like Megan was everywhere.
How much of that do you think was intentional though? Because this is a Blumhouse movie. Blumhouse made Halloween Ends too, which, wasn't as successful in the way that it was marketed, I would say. So do you think this was an accident, the viralness of the dance and all that, or do you think it was on purpose?
I would love to believe that someone masterminded that because it was so effective. Was it true? I don't know. But I do think that there was a concerted, distinct effort to market Megan. Even going to like Drac and I went to the Blumhouse Halloween party this year and Jason Blum was there dressed as Megan.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't look away for a minute or two without turning around and seeing a Megan billboard, the president of the company dressed as the doll.
True.
Like, it was everywhere.
But it was good too. That's the thing. Yeah.
Well, I think also too, I mean, I'm not going to say that Smile, wrote the book, but I think that they definitely resurrected a chapter of the book where when Smile's marketing was coming out and they had those people planted at like major sporting events and that sort of like viral marketing craze, I feel like we haven't had that in a minute, and maybe it seemed kitschy or like people are scared to do it, but I feel like Megan had a similar quality to it. They're like, okay, like let's put Megan dolls out in the real world. Like let's actually like have kind of like a tangible viral thing in a world that's so online. Let's do something in the real world.
Megan was successful, maybe not in exactly the way that I thought it would be, but it was really fun. Like it was so campy, and I don't know if I was going to take it. I was like, is this going to be meant to be taken seriously? Who knows what the tone would be? So when the tone was kind of very weird and way leaning into camp, at first I was like, uh-oh, am I not going to like this? Oh. But then it just kept going, and it was very self-aware, and it was like really kind of stupid, and which made it, when I say stupid, I say that word with a lot of love, because I think a lot of the stuff that we do on our show is stupid, because I think that there's a joy in not taking yourself too seriously, and Megan didn't take themselves too seriously, and it was really, really fun.
Oh my God, like when Megan starts singing Titanium.
Oh my God.
That was probably my favorite moment in the whole movie.
I'm like, is this really happening?
I was like, what? And I immediately I started laughing, and I loved this movie at that moment.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think like what I love too is like, okay, yes, like the Titanium singing is like so on. It's so funny. But even in the horror and the violence, it's really camp too. Like, I feel like it doesn't take itself seriously, but it knows exactly what it's doing. Like, they feature the weird on all fours run in the trailer, but to see it in the movie, I was cheering. I was like, oh my God, this doll is so fucking cool.
And it makes no sense, but that's what makes it so campy and fun.
No, completely unnecessary. But I swear, I'm like, did someone design these moments? Because as we know, the dance too, which was, I think, the thing that grabbed everybody by the throat.
Oh yeah.
Even if you didn't want to know, you didn't want to see the movie, or you had no idea what the story was, you knew that weird little girl was doing that dance and flipping around against the wall, and everybody knew it.
And then someone at Netflix was like, hold my purse. I'm not letting them get away with this. Jenna Ortega,
you better
do your Wednesday dance.
Do your
Jenna?
thing.
Get on TikTok.
You better get that COVID test and you better dance right now.
True, but she never really ran on her all fours twice. It was kind of unnecessary, and she didn't really dance that much. I thought that was a tease to a much larger sequence. I thought that dance was going to bring us to, like, death overkill, like, which would have been amazing with that blade that she broke off the paper cutter. And that's one of my only criticisms about Megan and Annabelle, is I felt like it could have went much further. It could have went much further with the violence.
Yeah, well, there's something, I mean, we shall see. Maybe by the time this episode comes out, I think the unrated version is coming to video on demand. And both James Wan and Akilah Cooper, who is the writer, who also wrote *Malignant*, by the way, which I live for, they've both said that the original cut had a higher body count and a lot more gore.
I think that would be the natural way to go. And I think as a viewer of tons of horror, the lack of it was absolutely felt. It was like, where's the death, sweetie? I want to see this little doll kill.
Okay, I'm going to say something that listeners of the podcast may be goofed by, or maybe they won't care. Who knows? I actually loved the lack of on-screen violence, because I read somewhere that was like, whether you like it or not, Megan is a new horror icon in the making, and she is a gateway horror icon. It's been so long since we've had a horror franchise that has been accessible to kids. Everything now is so Terrifier and high. I mean, I love Terrifier. I love Art the Clown. But to have a potential, we'll say, horror icon come forward that you can take your kid, quote unquote, to go see Megan, and they're not going to be like, okay, close your eyes. I found that to be so enjoyable. But trust and believe, when the unrated comes out, I want it to. Like, I want more blood and gore.
Which, surprisingly, if you look at it, had a lot more violence than you would expect for a PG-13 movie.
I mean, Celia's death was pretty intense.
Well, ripping off the ear and all that, But you asked earlier about the ending, and I wanted to, what did we think of the ending? And I feel like I didn't love the ending, and I love the movie. It was so much fun. I guess it did have, a perfectly campy 80s. They always
Wrapped
have
in a
kind of
bow.
wrap up. Exactly.
Yeah,
wrap
totally.
up. And that's very young adult kind of
The police
vibe.
are pulling up. You hear the sirens. And it's like, all the main characters appear again in a roundup.
What I didn't
Everyone's
like was,
alive.
I didn't like the battle. They had the robot that the girl. I wasn't into that. But
Which they telegraph from
Overly
Yeah,
telegraph.
it's like the first
Which-
time you meet the.
I literally
her
was-
over here ruins every movie. She's like, guess what? As soon as it comes on screen, just wait. Megan's going to be fighting that within the next hour. I'm like, thank you.
And I was absolutely
you were
right.
right.
I was like, and cue the old Bruce robot now. And there she was.
And she was sitting there with her little smile with her junior mints for real.
Yes, icons only.
Icons only. Of course it was a Junior Mints outing to go see Megan.
I can see why you didn't love the ending, but it does remind me of another killer doll, which, I mean, this is going to totally date me as a millennial. There is a Goosebumps series that's Night of the Living Dummy, and there's a ventriloquist dummy, and his name is Slappy, and always scared me as a kid. Or so in Night of the Living Dummy 2, when they destroy Slappy, his, ghost goes into the vent and, possesses another kid. And I was like, okay, do I think that they're actually referencing that? No, but it's very, Trilogy of Terror, the sort of the spirit of the voodoo, whatever, goes into the next kind of incarnation. And when they did that with her AI getting uploaded to whatever the Amazon assistant was, I was like, oh, I love that.
It was fun. It was thought out. And I think clearly I can just state for all of us, we really enjoyed Megan. It's still in theaters now, at least. And if it's not, it'll be streaming soon. If we get the ultra violent cut, I'm going to encourage everybody to watch it because Megan was super fun and definitely worth checking out.
Claws up across the board, right?
Across the board. Ooh. I think it's time for another quick break. And when we come back, we'll be answering some of your listener mail. Hello, uglies. It's It's that special time of year again, so visit BouletBrothersDragula.com for brand new merch from the wicked world of the Boulet Brothers. T-shirts, keychains, stickers, vinyl copies of the Boulet Brothers debut EP, Time to Die, and a brand new shipment of exclusive merch has just become available at BouletBrothersDragula.com. So if you consider yourself a member of the Dragula Coven and truly practice the dark arts, spend all of your nether coins at BouletBrothersDragula.com. Do it now or die. Welcome back, my putrid little darlings. It's time for some listener mail. So, Ian, would you please do the honors?
Oh, I'd be honored. Nix asks, whose lips are filmed saying drag, filth, horror, glamour in the intro of your show?
Those lips belong to Swan.
Ooh, secrets revealed.
They do belong to me, and I remember that day so vividly because it was like the first season of the show, and it was like, we need to have this moment, and so much magic came together on season 1, and you can even see a lot of that DNA that still exists now in the 4th season, the 5th season, the Titan season, that was just seeded way back then, and we're like, we need this, but I have to get it like now. It was very like kind of thrown together, and I see that moment repeated over and over and over and again.
It's iconic.
It is iconic, and it's just so funny how something that seemed like very quick and just a moment of necessity. Yes, just come over now. We'll do it now. And like that just gets repeated and sort of immortalized in the show for years.
I mean, another moment that comes to mind for me is in the original teaser for season 3, there is the sigil that is made with the lipstick.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when we were creating that, it was, there was a lot of labor of like, oh, what should it look like? What should it be? And then finally it was like, Swan was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm going to freestyle it. And Swan made it, and it ended up looking super cool. But then I saw someone got a tattoo on it and was like, this sigil means so much to me. I was like, oh my God, this is just something that we made up, Diva.
Living.
Everything is just something that someone made up. Don't forget that.
Oh my God. Scott from SF writes, I'd love to hear what each of your favorite horror movies was from 2022. That was a great year for horror, so it's going to be a tough one.
That is a very tough one. There were so many good releases this year.
It really was a great year for horror.
It was.
I hate favorite questions, but it's a new year, and we answered some favorite questions at the beginning of the podcast, so I think we should answer some at the end. Okay, this is a weird one for me, but I think my number one is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Oh,
nice.
And the reason why is because I don't think I've laughed at a movie that hard in a long time. That was hysterical. I love the ending. I just thought the whole thing was ridiculous and funny. And my honorable mention is Werewolf by Night.
Nice. That was good.
I feel like that's like a world that Drac Morta should come from.
That was so good. Surprisingly good, too. Another one that I kind of had to coerce you into watching and you enjoyed.
Interesting.
For me, I'll start with the honorable mentions. I'm definitely going to say X, not Pearl, not you, bitch. I also enjoyed Hellraiser on Hulu because I love the Hellraiser world, and I thought that they took it into really interesting places, but this was not a tough choice for me. What was my favorite of the year? And that was Barbarian.
Oh,
loved that movie. It was just so surprising. It was awesome. I recommended it earlier today before we came to record the podcast. It was so good.
I actually just rewatched it for the 3rd time the other day. And honestly, honorable mention to Barbarian for being the inception of the Junior Mints movie club.
Oh my God,
right. That's right.
Wow. So Barbarian is iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, Mama Barbarian is a gay icon.
Totally.
Victoria.
Wait a minute. We cannot go any further. I just remembered something.
What?
From the movie review, we did not discuss the neighbor's death.
I tried to prompt it. I was like, oh my God, Celia's death. And everyone was like, never mind, Ian.
Quick, let's do it.
Go on. Go for it.
Okay, do you think that Megan killed Celia, the neighbor, by A, drowning her, or B, blasting her face off with the pressure wash?
She killed her by unexplainable 80s death that would never really happen.
work.
Yeah, it could also be chemical exposure, right? Like,
That's what I thought they were
thought
saying.
it was chemical.
I thought it was chemical. Yeah.
I thought it was like pressure wash plus chemical. Like I mean, before I was like, oh, we're not going to see the violence. I thought we were going to get a cutaway to her face, like, you know, lips like pressure washed off and the chemicals burning her face.
It's a potpourri of horror. It's another potpourri of horror. It's chemical power washed equals face off equals death.
I was just laughing because I was like, there's no way that would do. I mean, you know what?
Okay,
it
but
was,
that's
no,
like,
yeah.
like you're saying, like the total 80s of it all. Because I love
Yeah.
like Megan goes over and fucking turns the pressure dial up to like 11. I'm like, okay, like I mean, at most that would like clean your driveway or something, not like destroy this woman. I love it.
Shoot her across the room. I'm
Right.
like, she's like 210. Okay, I don't think that's gonna work.
Speaking of gratuitous deaths on or off screen, my favorite from 2022 is Terrifier 2.
Another great one. 2022 was a great year for horror.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if it's an honorable mention for me, but just one that we all saw together, which I'm just reminded of because as of this recording, the trailer for Scream 6 is coming out tomorrow. I thought Five Cream was fun.
Yeah.
Period.
I liked Pearl too.
Placanthus Records writes, recently heard an episode of Lydia Lunch's podcast where she enthusiastically name-checked Dragula. Might she be a guest judge at some point?
That is interesting. You know, if we did the right kind of musical punk challenge, I think why not? Like I remember Lydia Lunch back in the day, and the song Stairs to Nowhere that for some reason stuck in my head for like 20 years. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's a true punk icon right there. I want to remind you, Drac, I was emailing back and forth with Lydia Lunch during this year because she was like, I'm going to be in LA. I'm a fan of the show. I would love to get together with you. And I think at the time we were like really, really deep in production. So it was something that I had to kind of like graciously say, offer to me this again in the future. I think it was very flattering. And I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility.
Manny from San Diego asks, what did you gals think of the Interview with a Vampire series?
What did you, gal, think of it, Drac
Well, this
Morta?
gal did
What about
not
you,
watch.
gal?
This gal didn't watch that or the Mayfair Witches, but I'm going to. But you did watch a little bit of the Interview with the Vampire, and what did you think?
Yes, by a little bit, it is the entire series. I binged it. Yes.
You watched the whole thing.
gal.
I watched the whole thing.
So what did
because-
you think, gal?
Okay, listen up, gals. Pull up a chair. I'm going to talk about Interview with a Vampire right now. No, it was really good. It was very queer, and they took a lot of risks that made it kind of feel new. And I think the first episode was done so well, it literally sank its fangs into my throat.
Oh.
Especially the end. I was like, there's like very real like violence and blasphemy representations of the church. Like you could feel Lestat's like just disgust for his position and like the humans around him. And it was really good.
Okay, gal.
Episode 1, I mean, check it out. And when you'll see what I mean by the end, I'm like, wow, like the violence was just mwah, loved
Wow,
it.
gal.
Adriana from Ontario writes, how do you feel about your height difference? Does Swan ever hate having to wear higher heels than Drac all the time?
I would say no. And like, hi, I don't have a choice of how I feel about it. It is what it is. But you know, I'm never uncomfortable on high heels because the heels that we learned to walk in were
Yes.
like those 6-inch platforms that you can see
Every
us walking
night.
in the Marco show years
Yeah.
ago.
Mhm.
I mean, those are the shoes that we learned to walk on. And now people will see them and be like, oh my God, girl, you brought out the big girl
For
shoes.
some reason, I
I'm
felt
like, these
safer.
are the training wheels,
yeah,
sweetie.
I don't know why. I always felt more secure. I guess because those are the shoes that we learned to walk in.
Yeah.
Because that was sort of part of our drag when we developed it. It was always, and it's something I learned from Heclina and Peaches actually, which was to really be bigger than life. And so we would wear gigantic heels and the hair had to be we'd wear those giant like Debbie Harry hairspray
Yeah.
like with the blacked out eyes and all that. And it was almost an intimidating
Yeah.
larger than life
absolutely.
presence.
I'll never forget the night Heclina walked up to you and she said, you're thinking small and you need to be
Oh,
thinking big, bitch. No, but we play with the height differences. It isn't always like to even out. Sometimes we lean in the other direction. And who knows, we may play with that a little bit more. You never know how the Boulets will be
I just
presenting in the next season of the show.
Ooh.
I can't get over people's obsession with like our heights. And
They are
it-
obsessed, mama.
We appear on the show with all these different people. They must know by now that we are just sort of averagely heighted people. You know what I mean? But they don't. You would think I'm a giant.
Girl.
And I go to these meet and greets and people are like, oh my God, you're a normal. I'm like, what the motherfuck did you think? I was like a giant?
I'm sorry. Not like this is not shade at Alaska at all because I love Alaska. That picture of the two of you in Alaska and David Dastmalchian for the episode 3 guest judging, I'm like, this bitch is 9 feet tall.
Not to mention, I'm like,
the
what?
tall one.
Have we graduated elementary school yet?
Oh.
Some people are a little shorter. Some people are taller. Some people are this. Some people are that. Do we not? We don't know that yet. I mean, you see the guest judges. Some of the people are smaller than us, and some of the people are larger than us.
Isn't that weird how that works?
I guess so.
What a weird world.
Weird. I'm going to walk on my knees next season. I'm going to just fuck it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Speaking of, I have to shout out every single person on Twitter or on the internet who was like, when the photos of Abora came out for the Titans cast reveal, and they were like,
oh my God.
Oh my God. How did she do this? Obviously, she's wearing a garment that conceals the this, and her legs are folded behind her head. And I'm like,
the backdrop, she made a special outfit that blended into the backdrop. I'm like, yes, she did.
I was like, yes, he did. And you know what? I can't wait for you all to see this in motion in the video. Mark from Richmond asks, who was the genius who had the cast lip sync to Shoes during Titans? That was such a gag and stupid in the best way. Give us more ridiculousness like this, please.
That was the two of us, of course. That's something we wanted to do for a while. We absolutely will give you more of that. We love that kind of stuff.
That goes way back to our roots. I mean,
Yeah.
we had Kelly performing at our clubs back in the day.
Iconic.
Many times.
Shoes, Kelly's mom. But we were like, oh, so Kelly was a hit. We need to pussy up and bring Kelly's mom out to the club, which
Kelly's
we did.
backup dancer,
Yeah.
the whole music video.
We've been doing, shows on that level, like the Hyacinth Bouquet level of camp, like camp times 1 million. You can't even stand it. It's just like so stupid and fun. I think that's some of the greatest entertainment out there.
I knew because, the first challenge was very fun, but it was dark. And the next one, and I thought people were going to be like, oh, it's the witchcraft, girl. It's going to get spooky. And I was like, I just wanted them to think that and then to drop that beat that everybody knows. I don't know. I'm glad that people appreciated it.
It's so funny that you invoked Kelly's mom, because Kelly's mom has one of my favorite non sequitur quotes that I do, but of course no one knows. It's just one word, and it's in Shoes when Kelly's mom just goes, whore. Like the actor who plays her is so
totally.
funny. Oh,
or
God.
in the other ones, I can't remember what song it was. Like, well, let me borrow that top or whatever. She's like, tattoos are from the devil.
Yes. Kelly, what are you going to do with your life? May asks, with the recent controversy surrounding Dungeons & Dragons, Hasbro's OGL news, would this have any effect on future Dungeons & Drag Queens Adventurers challenges?
No, I mean, we love Dungeons and Dragons here, and whatever the company's doing with whatever, and they walked it back and all that. But look, at the end of the day, we love Dungeons and Dragons. It's iconic. It has a huge history beyond something that happened on the internet for 5 seconds last week. So no, it will not affect what we decide to do going forward.
Agreed. We've been loving it for years. If they want to fuck it up today, that doesn't mean that I can't celebrate what I loved about it yesterday.
And what class and race did you play? You always dungeon master, didn't you?
I almost always dungeon mastered.
Yeah,
If I was
me
going to
too.
play, it would be a half elf mage.
Ooh.
And how about you, Miss Ian?
I would always have to play Warlock because she's dark-sided. Although I think that there's something really fun about being like some sort of strange like owling or even like a gnome. Like actually, I'm gonna be a gnome Warlock 100%. And my patron is gonna be like, I don't know, some like mix in the world here, like Slaanesh, like filth slut, like gnome slut, Eldritch Blast out my gnomacy, my gnomacy.
That's Nussy with a G.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's every time it comes on me, Ian, roll for initiative. Just legs up, Eldritch Blast, honey. Oh. And you, Dragula.
I always had to run the game. I was always the dungeon master, so I never really got to play. I mean, I got to play some, but I didn't have like an archetype that I always was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening to the newest episode of Creatures of the Night. We've talked about the coming year, Smile, and a slew of other topics from the worlds of horror and drag, and we want to know what you think about it all. So tweet us using the hashtag COTNPod with your feelings and feedback and keep the conversation going. Also, remember to send your listener questions to creatures@BouletBrothersDragula.com, and remember to subscribe, rate, and review. Until next time, uglies. The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted by the Boulet Brothers with their co-host and producer, Ian DeVogler. Engineered and mixed by Carlos Bueno, with music by Neuron Spector.